Well, are you the kind of person that just keeps picking and picking and can't leave well enough alone? Well, I feel you, me too. I started into this project behind the cockpit of the bus thinking I'd love to just leave the decking down and avoid this area of the rebuild, but I noticed there was a coolant leak. And as I tore into that little drip of a coolant leak, turned out that I had to really start to disassemble this entire console. Well, there was a tiny hole in the hose due to a poor insulation point, a rubbing point, where a hose went through a little hole in the console, and that turned into looking a little bit deeper into the heater core itself, and it looked like there was a little hole in part of the copper fitting going into the heater as well, which is not really repairable. And so I started digging and digging, finally took the electrical part of the console out and started doing wire deletion at the same time. So I'm kind of in the combination coolant fixing, wire deletion. So the question is, down here, I decided that maybe keeping the driver's coolant system would be a good idea. I mean, it's just a couple of pipes coming in, one in, one out, that feeds the heater core. Simple enough, right? Well, with the heater core leak, I was forced to maybe look into another heater core, and I took the heater core out of the back and was able to get this guy, which has conveniently located in and out for the flow of the coolant. This bottom one down here was okay, except I noticed off in here, looks like we have this tiny little leak coming out of this portion of the core. So I decided to rip this one out and rebuild it to maybe make it work down here. So one thing when I get into these kind of projects, you know, first of all, understanding a little bit about a little bit is pretty helpful, and having some resources available is pretty helpful. But I also find while I'm doing this kind of stuff, controlling the chaos, taming the chaos is a really important idea. So as I get into this, one tool leads to the next that leads to a part on the floor that leads to a wire harness that maybe didn't get labeled or grouped correctly to know where it's going to go in the future. And so I like the idea of just every so often getting everything back in its place, cleaning it all up, vacuuming, doing what I have to kind of make this, the area that I'm working in, just a little bit more enjoyable. I also found a really good use for this bus insulation. So bus insulation makes this amazing little workspace. I can kind of get under here and, you know, do what I need to do while having kind of a nice, comfortable little bed that I don't care about messing up. It's all about recycling and repurposing. I'm trying to do that as much as I can on this bus, like recycling parts for the coolant line that I find, this kind of stuff. Turns out I will have to replace this guy because it is leaking. 2002, it's lasted pretty long. But I collect all the hose clamps that I can. I have so many hose clamps now. I don't think I'll have to buy a hose clamp of that size for years to come. Anyway, by the time I finish this, the new core will be installed in here. All of the new coolant piping will be feeding it, and I'll give you an update as I come along. Alrighty, talk soon.